Okay. Proceed. Is yours muted? Is yours muted? Yours has been muted the whole time. Or maybe when you touched it and you flicked it around.
Sorry about that.
It's fine.
Thankfully, I only talked like once or twice.
With my editing skills, I can make you
Listen
louder.
in the background.
I'll make her louder. It's fine. Her mic was muted.
It's a rough day.
Check 2 holiday. I'm about to go take after this, apparently. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
I'm Annabelle.
And I'm Kenny Page, and we are Potty Mouth. So we're back with more murder mysteries. I'll just say... Murder mysteries! No, we have some more murder mysteries, as we would say. Today we are going to read about the Zodiac Killer. And I will be reading it from biography.com. I did pull a couple different websites, and this one seems to have the bulk of the information and background stuff. There was an FBI.gov article, but it wasn't like full of all the information that we needed. So here we have the self-named Zodiac Killer is directly linked to 5 murders in the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 1960s and claimed to commit as many as 37. He has never been caught or identified. And I will add in whatever photos are linked to like the information here. Who is the Zodiac Killer? The self-proclaimed Zodiac Killer is directly linked to at least 5 murders in Northern California in 1968 and 1969, with 2 other victims surviving despite serious injuries. He taunted police and made threats through letters sent to area newspapers from 1969 to 1974, before abruptly ceasing communication. Through that correspondence, he claimed to have killed as many as 37 people. Despite intensive investigations, the multiple theories pertaining to the serial killer's identity, no one has ever been caught for the crimes, and the case remains open. The mystery surrounding the murders has been the subject of numerous books and movies, including director David Fincher's acclaimed 2007 movie Zodiac. I knew at least that much, which this is something that I haven't personally, that I remember of, like, deep diving in. Like, I remember hearing stuff about it, or people making, like, oh, Zodiac, like, the references too. And I feel like, for me, it's more interesting when I briefly read stuff, and then also having my own reaction, like reading it, like deep diving into it. However, there will be a couple more episodes, and there's one that I did actually watch a documentary, and it was I got sucked in at 1:30 in the morning. Which I have been finding myself doing and learning more about true crime stuff. But we have Zodiac Killer letters, symbol, and cipher. On August 1st, 1969, the San Francisco Examiner, San Francisco Chronicle, and the Vallejo Times-Herald each received an identical handwritten letter in an envelope without a return address, beginning, "Dear Editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." The letters contained details from the Zodiac Killer's murders that only a perpetrator could have known. The killer went on to threaten further attacks if the letters weren't printed on the front page of the papers. Each letter closed with a symbol consisting of a circle with a cross through it, and what would become known as the Zodiac Killer's symbol. The letters were also each accompanied by one part of a 3-part cipher that he claimed contained his identity. And there's also an image, which I'll put up here. A cryptogram the Zodiac Killer submitted to the San Francisco Chronicle in 1969. And it is literally a bunch of symbols, and it says, "Sorry I haven't written, but I just washed my pen." Strange. While Bay Area police departments, with the support of the FBI, worked feverishly to track down the killer, another letter soon arrived at the San Francisco Examiner, beginning, "Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." It also described the murders in detail and taunted police for not having been able to crack his code or catch him. Several days later, high school teacher Donald Hardin and his wife, Betty, were able to solve the cipher. "I like killing people because it is so much fun," it read. "It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." Psychopath. Literally, that's
Crazy.
yeah. It's crazy to me that a person's mind can literally be that messed up, like programmed like that. And for like, because the way that like we think and everything, and for somebody to be thinking like that and thinking that it's like, do they think it's normal, or do they genuinely have like, are they schizophrenic? Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy that there's stuff like that that actually happens to people in the way that people are programmed and everything. 3 days after the fourth known Zodiac killing, the 1969 murder of taxi driver Paul Stine, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming the crime. Written in the same erratic print as the Zodiac's previous letters, it gave the details of Stine's murder and was accompanied by a bloody scrap of Stine's shirt. At the end of the letter, the killer mused that he would next shoot out the tire of a school bus and pick off the kitties as they come bouncing out.
I heard that.
I do remember.
That's the one thing that I heard about. I think there was like a TikTok on it, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean? Well, I know what you mean, but like, jeez.
Especially, it's just because I've heard of multiple like murder cases and true crime stuff where people are like writing notes being like, "Oh, haha, it's me," like this, that, like getting leads, and it's like, is it actually this person, or like, are there multiple people? And for stuff like this to like never be solved too, talked about before, like, how do you go your whole life being that psychotic and not slipping up, and not like, obviously they're literally threatening people like, "Oh, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill you too." Like, would they actually do that? You would feel so like,
yeah.
The Zodiac Killer continued his taunting correspondence with Bay Area papers, in which he included more ciphers, claimed to have committed several more murders, and mocked the police for their inability to catch him. In 1974, the letters stopped, though the investigation continues to this day. And there are pictures of the victims. There's Betty Lou Jensen, David Faraday, and Darlene Farron. And the photos are there, which I can also add here. 4 separate attacks involving 7 people have been definitively attributed to the Zodiac Killer. The first confirmed incident took place on the night of December 20th, 1968, when 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend Betty Lou Jensen were shot to death near their car at a remote spot on Lake Herman Road, on the outskirts of Vallejo, which I think I'm saying it's Vallejo. I think it's Vallejo.
Probably
Vallejo, California. Police were baffled, unable to determine the motive for the crime or a suspect. Early in the morning of July 5th, 1969, Darlene Farron, age 22, and her boyfriend, Mike McGow, age 19, were sitting in a parked car in a similar remote Vallejo location when they were approached by a man with a flashlight. The figure fired multiple shots at him, killing Farron and seriously wounding McGow. Within an hour of the incident, a man called the Vallejo Police Department, giving them the location of the crime scene and claiming responsibility for both that attack and the 1968 murders of Faraday and Jensen. Despite evidence that included fingerprints, McGow's description, the decoded cipher, and a wave of tips and leads, police were unable to track down the Zodiac Killer. On the evening of September 27, 1969, he struck again, approaching young couple Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell as they relaxed on an isolated part of the shore of Lake Berryessa in Napa County, which Berryessa. Wearing a hood and a shirt bearing a circle cross symbol, he tied them up before brutally stabbing them, scrawling a message for police on their car door, and leaving the scene. He then called the Napa Police Department to claim responsibility. Shepard and Hartnell were both in critical condition but alive when emergency services arrived. However, Shepard died of her wounds shortly thereafter. 2 weeks later, on October 11th, 1969, the Zodiac claimed another life, shooting 29-year-old taxi driver Paul Stine in San Francisco's Presidio Heights neighborhood. As the murder didn't seem to fit the Zodiac's pattern, it was initially deemed as a robbery until San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming the crime. At least 5 other murders have been tentatively linked to the Zodiac Killer, including the 1963 shooting of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards near Santa Barbara, California, and the 1966 stabbing of the college student Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California. That's just crazy, because I feel like if this happened in today's society, they would be able to track cell phone phone logs,
camera footage.
Yeah,
like there's so much more that it would have been able to catch on the details. Because like I was thinking that when you were talking, it's like if they had cameras like they do now, this would have been caught, because there's no way. Like there's so many cameras and stuff. Because like I mean, granted, like I don't know how many unsolved murders from like recent have they had, or have they been able to find them all? Right. Because with media and everything.
And then how he's literally calling and tattling on himself. Nowadays, they would be able to trace that phone back to him, granted, if it was his phone. Maybe it was a burner phone. Obviously, there's, track phone, yeah, right, stuff like that. But it's, it's just crazy, because to get away with so many, like we said, nowadays, people wouldn't be able to get away with such crimes like that with technology and everything. So, now we have Zodiac Killer's identity, theories, and possible suspects. And there is a sketched up original drawing and amended drawing of the suspect that's wanted for the murder. It's like a newspaper police department bulletin, and I can also add this here that has the information supplementing our bulletin 87 to 69 of October 13th, 1969. Additional information: he's developed the above amended drawing of murder suspect known as Zodiac. It's WMA, 35 to 45 years, approximately 5'8", heavy build, short brown hair, possibly with red tint, wears glasses, arms with a 9mm automatic. Available for comparison: slugs, casings, latents, and handwriting. But also, was this guy smart enough to write stuff with, his left hand? Or, because you know how easy, especially for, people getting in trouble for, forging signatures and stuff? What if he's, he made up his own? And granted, also making literal symbols and stuff. It's not regular alphabetical letters and words and such.
Yeah.
With descriptions from the witnesses who had seen a man leaving the scene of Paul Stine's 1969 murder, police were able to create and circulate a composite sketch of the killer. But despite mounting evidence and the investigation of numerous suspects, the Zodiac remained at large. More than 5 decades after the Faraday Jensen murders, no suspect has ever been arrested. The inability to identify the Zodiac Killer has continued to frustrate law enforcement. The mystery surrounding the Zodiac case also continues to fascinate the public and has inspired more than its fair share of theories regarding the killer's identity. Ranging from plausible to absurd, these include the claims that he was Unabomber Ted, I don't know how to say his last name. It's Kaczynski. Like, I'll say Kaczynski. I don't know. I'll say
Kaczynski?
I'll say Ted K. Or convicted murderer Charles Manson. Or that he eventually moved to Scotland and committed more murders before finding happiness and giving up his wicked ways.
Okay, just died.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that's what happened.
Some other theories include Arthur Lee Allen, true crime author and former San Francisco Chronicle cartoonist Robert Graysmith, who wrote 2 separate works on the killer, 1986's Zodiac and 2002's Zodiac Unmasked, ultimately identifying a man named Arthur Lee Allen as the most likely suspect. Police questioned Allen in 1969 and 1971, but his fingerprints did not match those at the scene of Stein's murder, and he was never conclusively connected to any of the killings. He was arrested and charged with child in 1974, ultimately serving 2 years in prison, and Allen died in 1992. This is the Zodiac Speaking, a 2024 Netflix docuseries features interviews with experts and former students of Allen and examines new information about his possible role in the case. Earl Van Best Jr. In 2014, HarperCollins published The Most Dangerous Animal of All by Gary L. Stewart, in which he claims that his father, Earl Van Best Jr., who bears a strong resemblance of the man in the police sketch, was a Zodiac Killer.
I heard that because that's crazy to be like, yeah, it's my dad.
Literally.
That's so crazy.
Louis Myers, another man, came forward in 2014 to reveal that a friend named Louis Myers has confessed to being the killer before his death in 2002. Certain events in Myers' history matched up with those connected to the Zodiac, but as with Allen and Van Best, there was no conclusive proof. There's a theory about multiple killers. A 2023 Peacock docuseries, Myth of the Zodiac Killer, posits the murders were carried out by multiple people. It's very unusual for cold cases to have this much information, but if you read all the police files, you see that there's very little linking to these crimes together. Series director Andrew Knock told the New York Post different weapons, different MO, different victim profile, and eyewitnesses' statements, different locations or trophy being taken from one, but none of the others. Which, like, that gives me...
Well, yeah, because there's some of them are stabbing, some of them is like a gun.
Good, yeah.
So it's like, why?
It's giving me gang affiliation. Like, if there were multiple people, that's what it's giving, for what I think, at least. The case today: solved cipher and more theories. In 2020, after more than 50 years, amateur codebreakers solved the Zodiac Killer's cipher. The decoded message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show," which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing. When they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death, I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one and paradise death. Psycho killer.
Psycho killer.
What happened to this child in their life that made them act such ways? In October 2021, a team of 40 former law enforcement investigators called the Casebreakers claimed to have identified the Zodiac Killer. They believe that Gary Francis Post, who died in 2018, was responsible for the murders. According to USA Today, this claim relied largely on DNA evidence found at the scene of Sherry Jo Bates' murder in 1966 at Riverside City College in California. Additionally, the case breakers claim that Post had the same shoe size and similar forehead scars to the Zodiac Killer, and that letters to the press contain anagrams of his name. However, police have remained adamant that Bates isn't a confirmed victim of the Zodiac Killer, meaning Post wasn't made a suspect. Okay. Proceed. Is yours muted? Is yours muted? Yours has been muted the whole time. Or maybe when you touched it and you flicked it around.
Sorry about that.
It's fine.
Thankfully, I only talked like once or twice.
With my editing skills, I can make you
Listen
louder.
in the background.
I'll make her louder. It's fine. Her mic was muted. In 2022, author Jarrett Quebec wrote an investigative book called How to Find Zodiac and hypothesized the killer's identity as Poel Doer. If I'm botching these, like I said, Poel Doer.
Dior.
A San Francisco Bay Area man who died in 2007. He found that both Doer and the Zodiac had shown an interest through their writings in making homemade bombs, particularly from
That's interesting.
Along with having a similar build to the suspected killer, Doer also worked at a shipyard in Vallejo at the time of the murders. So here are some movies and TV about the Zodiac Killer if you would like to go watch and get into more information about this, which I feel like I personally will just to do it, just to watch some more, and because I feel like I did, but this isn't so like fresh on my mind because don't ask me what I did 3 days ago. I don't know what I ate for breakfast yesterday. So the Zodiac Killer was the inspiration for the psychopath in the 1971 Clint Eastwood classic Dirty Harry, which includes a scene involving a school bus full of children being hijacked. Years later, Robert Graysmith's writing fueled the creation of David Fincher's critically acclaimed film Zodiac, which hit the big screen in 2007 with Jake Gyllenhaal. Like I said, Gyllenhaal. I might be botching these. I'm sorry. Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. in starring roles. Subsequent dramatized.
It's a rough day.
Alright. Let's see.
Subsequent
dramatized takes on the subject include the 2017 feature Awakening the Zodiac, about a couple that investigates the murderer before falling into his crosshairs. Also, hello? What is happening? Also, in 2017, the History Channel featured a non-fiction TV series, The Hunt for Zodiac Killer, about investigators' hunt to decipher the Zodiac Killer's code. In March 2020, FX released a documentary series called The Most Dangerous Animal of All, based on Gary L. Stewart's book of the same name. So if you have any desire to watch or read into this, those are some recommendations. Yeah. So I did have all of that information from bioriffy.com, like I said. I feel like if he was dead, or if there's multiples of them, I feel like because of how psychotic that they were through the whole entire, all of the mysteries, all the murders and stuff, that he would have left a note before he died. Or that he would have left clues, because he was
Unless
just
if he
like,
was-
you can't catch me.
Unless if he was killed, like, in some freak accident, like a car accident or something,
That's the only
to where
way
he
I-
didn't have... Because the minute they're like, oh, he just stopped communication, I'm like, oh, he was, like maybe he, like, literally got hit by a car, got killed.
Right.
Something crazy.
But I also feel, because obviously if he was still doing his little antics, like all of that stuff, obviously he wouldn't have had a letter prepared. But I still can't just wrap my mind around, like, killing somebody and then be like, okay. I'm gonna kill you if you don't put this in the newspaper. I did it. Here's all the information. Send. And then printing it out and being like, oh, let's put it in this envelope.
Here's my
Here you
DNA.
go. Literally, like, that's just crazy. Because, like I said, this stuff nowadays, I feel like with the way that fingerprint, like,
It wouldn't go. It would be so easily caught.
and I hate, like, because, not that I hate this stuff, because obviously I hate, like, this sort of things, like, happening and everything. I love me a good, like, murder mystery. Like, it's just fascinating in the sense of, like, it also leaves us, like, wondering and thinking and everything, like, how, like, trying to wrap your brain around the fact of, like, this person's brain was programmed and this, like, the way that they made themselves. Granted, like I said, they could be schizophrenic, they can have other mental issues, obviously, within the...
I feel like to do like that, you have to have something mentally not okay.
Yeah.
Because any sane-minded
Still not
person...
excused at all.
No.
At all.
No, I'm just saying there has to be something wrong with you in general to do anything like that because... I mean, granted, I'm a mental health girly and I have issues, but I could never fathom.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's insane.
And as this sounds, not saying that kids need to watch this stuff, but, like, as you become, like, more aware and growing up and stuff, learning about this stuff and becoming more aware of how sick people can be, I feel like you could literally use that to your own benefit. Like,
So it doesn't happen again.
yeah. And obviously that's how, like, FBI and, like, all of that and whatnot, but...
Ooh, are you off?
Are you...
I was like, why is there only one
today.
going? I mean, my mic's been picking you up because it was like going off and I was like, what the
Touching my mic, though.
I wonder if they're just going off.
Sorry, we're struggling today, so
It's the most Monday Wednesday I've ever had in my life.
yeah. And usually it's not even Wednesdays that we record. This is the first Wednesday what we've actually done.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's like,
wow.
it's super out of hand. But, like, I feel like I also watched some documentaries here and there, but obviously nowadays the more popular and more, because, like, people are the way that, like, the systems work and everything, like, people can figure it out a lot quicker than, like, back then. So I also feel like there's more series on that happens like that now, but also they're still making stuff from the past too, because, like, if it leads up to it and then finally like this, like, they never found the killer, so it's like, okay, we couldn't just, like, mass produce a bunch of docu-series on this right now. Like, it's still essentially, like, playing out.
Yeah.
Versus, like, but also I feel like nowadays, like, it usually takes 2 or 3 days and Netflix is like, bam, go watch it, this thing happened 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, how do you have all this information already? Damn.
Netflix is the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah. Obviously, we break our stuff up with nostalgic blind bag stuff and all of that, but yeah, I just can't wrap my mind around. I can't wrap my mind around a lot of stuff, but I can't wrap my mind around, like I mentioned before, what one was it? The Black Dahlia one?
Mm-hmm.
How do you go your whole life? And granted, this was also a little bit different because he was basically, like, boasting about it in secrecy. How do you go your whole life without being like, yeah, like, I did, or, like, having guilt? How there has to be some sort of, like, small ounce of guilt. How do you, because this guy was probably just going around, he pulls up to KFC, gets himself some chicken, and lives, like, goes on about his day, like, living like a normal person, and there's people around him that don't know, like, anything, and here he is murdering 37 plus people. And I know that there have been a couple other cases on stuff that I've watched is really f***ed up. I feel like a lot of people are in the known or have at least heard of Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
Like the information, at least has seen something on it. I know, like I said before, like I've seen people making references and like stuff like that, like symbols and like crap like that and whatnot, but we will definitely have more. And if you enjoy the true crime side of this, please let us know what stories you would like us to read about or learn about. I'm always open to stuff. I feel like some of the stuff we are sensitive to, so of course we will review it and whatever we feel comfortable with, because there's, like I said, like murder is definitely a big thing, but also it's different with how so gruesome and like certain stuff, like
The details can go crazy sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have any recommendations, let us know. You can always send us links, because we like looking up, like I said, fbi.gov, biography.com. If there's anything that you are deep diving in that you would like us to learn along with you, like I said, I literally called Aaron on the way here and I was like, my grandma mentioned this story that's happening like right now, and like I haven't heard of it, like I haven't seen anything. Aaron's like, yes, this one. Yeah, I've been like kind of following along. I'm like, I haven't seen anything on this. So I feel like that will eventually be one that we can also touch base on and do too. It is very, very fresh. So I
Literally,
feel like
what's today's date?
it happened 6 days ago.
I've been obsessed with true crime since I can even remember. Like, I've spent my summers in between school, like, just.
I grew up with my mom watching Law and Order.
My mom's
like
always
that.
watching SVU.
Yeah. But yeah, it all started with that Matlock, Law and Order, you know, all of those, but, so, all right.
With that, we'll see you guys in the next
Yeah.
one.
Bye.
Bye.